So in investing, it isn't just about can they win, but more so, can they keep winning? So an economic moat is what allows companies to continue earning supernormal profits while seeing their share price increase. And this is stock number 2 in our 7-day series, showing you how to start investing in companies around you with StockOracle. And today's pick is all in our wallets, the company powering our payment services, Mastercard. Now, we usually see investors get excited about a stock because the product looks cool or sales are growing fast, without asking the harder question: what's stopping competitors from stealing that success? So without an economic moat, even the hottest companies can see profits disappear when rivals enter the market. And for our second pick in this series, let's break down a company whose economic moat is built into the way money moves around in the world: Mastercard. And here's how StockOracle ranks the company on our 6 key matrix: predictability, profitability, growth, economic moat, financial strength, and valuation. We'll talk more about it later on. So you have probably swiped or tapped a card powered by Master without even thinking about it. You didn't choose Master because of an advertisement. It's just there. And that's the power of that network. So behind the scenes, Mastercard operates one of the largest payment systems in the world, accepted by millions of merchants, issued by countless banks, and used by consumers every day. So for a new competitor to actually challenge them going into this payment system network, they will need to win over merchants, convince customers to carry their card, and get banks on board all at once. And unlike banks, Mastercard doesn't actually lend money or even take on credit risk. They simply collect a fee every time you pay with them. So you can essentially look at their business like a global toll booth on spending, powered by a network effect. So every new user makes the service even more valuable for everyone else. And using StockOracle, it helps you gain deeper understanding within minutes. So let's investigate together on how StockOracle ranks Mastercard. So all we have to do is to type in the ticker symbol MA, and we are greeted by this dashboard for the company. So I think at first glance, when we look at the Oracle IQ chart, we can see that Mastercard actually ranks pretty well on quite a few of these metrics. That said, I think growth might potentially be a concern, and right now, based on the current market price, Mastercard could potentially be overvalued as well. So comparing it to the current price versus the Oracle value, there's quite a distance. But I think let's hold our horses first and not be too focused in terms of the valuations, but to first understand the business itself. And I think specifically in this video, the focus here is really in terms of identifying the economic moat, the strength and the fundamentals of the business, and the concern around whether competitors are able to compete away Mastercard's profits. And now, when scrolling down to the Oracle IQ chart, you can see that there is also a section that actually tells you the AI moat analysis. So there is a lot of prompts that go behind the scenes, but by pressing onto it, you can see that it instantly generates the qualitative aspect of understanding Mastercard's moat today. And clearly, we see that AI actually gives Mastercard a wide moat. So then the natural question would then be, when comparing companies with no economic moat, a narrow moat, and a wide moat, what is the difference? In StockOracle, we try to categorize them across 5 key sectors: brand loyalty and pricing power, high barriers to entry, high switching costs, network effects, and economies of scale. So when a company with no economic moat means that they are very susceptible to competitive pressures and competitors coming in to eat away at their lunch, and for their consumers to switch away easily. For companies that have a narrow moat, we basically look at a company's fundamentals and estimate that within the next 5 to 10 years, we can see business continue executing and competitors not coming in so easily. And for companies that are in the wide moat category, we are pretty confident to estimate the current business generative ability for 10 years and above. And that's basically the rule of thumb that we apply here. And I think specifically for Mastercard, so the company has established itself as a leader in the electronic payments, benefiting from a vast network of cardholders and merchants. So Visa, its closest competitor, with both companies dominating the credit card market. So they possess a wide moat underpinned by powerful network effects, significant economies of scale, and high barriers to entry. Specifically, I think they kind of operate as a duopoly or triopoly with American Express. But we can really tell, even from our own personal experience, that regardless of which bank, debit or credit card you use, it's basically monopolized by one of the two, either Visa versus Master. And out of the 5 different criteria, high barriers to entry, network effect, and economies of scale definitely takes the crown. So then the question is, sure, you can tell me Visa and Master both have wide moats. What does it mean to us as investors? And it's true that a lot of all these analysis regarding economic moat is quite qualitative and quite intangible. But one thing tangible for sure is to reflect and to look into the numbers. How that economic moat actually reflect to investors. So let's take a step back and look into Mastercard's company matrix and see in terms of the return on investment, return on invested capital, return on equity, how does it perform? So I think we can all agree that at first glance, Mastercard indeed proves to have some sort of a very superior business, with return on equity over 100% and return on invested capital of more than 40% over the last 5 years. In fact, on a trailing 12-month basis, they've reached a peak of roughly 55.72%. And you might think that, oh, all these percentages, what does it actually mean? The focus here really is to do a comparative analysis and to see how all of these numbers actually stack up. So one of the payment processing company, also in this specific industry, not a direct competitor with Master, let's take for example PayPal. So if we actually do a quick search on PayPal and to look at their own company matrix as well, yes, it does show that PayPal has a narrow moat, but this comparison between having a narrow moat versus a wide moat, what is actually the difference? When we compare to their ROE, 20 over percent, still decent and respectable, but compared to Mastercard's one, it pales in comparison. Similar story, return on invested capital near 15%, nowhere near the 40 over percent that Mastercard has clocked. So you can see that really the moat itself is a very general understanding of the business. So what you want to do is to really triangulate the different data points and to see how that moat actually translate to real numbers that actually impacts the investor. And when the business actually shows attributes of having high margins, high return on invested capital, it means that as an investor who's the owner of the business, you are able to also enjoy that great amount of churn rate to continue investing in good projects through the company, which compound your returns as a shareholder. And that's basically how the moat itself gets translated to the benefit of the investors. So I hope that through this short sharing, you actually get a deeper appreciation of the role of economic moats when looking at investing into companies. Now, spotting an economic moat isn't just about reading a company's marketing deck or its 10K or 10Q. It's about finding real-world evidence to test your theory on whether competitors are really struggling to catch up. And one of the clearest signs of an economic moat is pricing power. So if a company can raise prices and customers still stick around, that's a moat at work. Take Mastercard for example. If they nudge up their transaction fees, merchants still accept them because the alternative is losing sales. And true pricing power actually shows up when revenue grows not just because of selling more, but from charging more without sacrificing volume. And another sign of an economic moat is the high switching cost. When changing over to a competitor is too expensive, too disruptive, or simply too inconvenient. So this could be technical, like an enterprise software system that's deeply embedded in a company's operation, or it could just be emotional, like an ecosystem that you're tied into and you're too lazy to move out. So when switching costs are high, customers tend to stay even if competitors offer something slightly cheaper or something newer. And here's the trick. Don't just take a company's word for it. Any company CEO will definitely tell investors that they have a moat. Instead, look at their track record. Whether they're able to keep healthy margins, loyal customers, and even steady growth over a long period of time, even when competitors try to undercut them. And that's usually the clearest sign that the economic moat is real. Also, a strong moat today doesn't guarantee a strong moat tomorrow. That's why investors shouldn't treat their current moat score as the end of their research. You also need to ask, is their economic moat getting stronger or weaker? Are new competitors finding new ways around it? Are customers changing their preferences? Are regulations chipping away at their advantages? So some moats erode slowly, like brands losing relevance over decades, while others can collapse almost overnight if a disruptive technology or new business model makes the old one obsolete. So while identifying an economic moat is important, tracking its durability is just as critical. So look for signs of reinforcements, new partnerships, expanding customer base, or innovation that widens the barrier. And be alert for early cracks, shrinking market share, falling margins, or customer churn. So the best investors don't just buy great moats, they monitor them constantly to see if they're still worth defending. And you identify these trends just with a few clicks in StockOracle. And at the end of the day, the goal isn't just to find companies with moats, but to own the companies that can keep them strong for years to come. And if you want to get access to this investing tool, you can head down to the link below to check out our latest offer. And this is CK from Piranha Profit signing off. Till next time, keep winning.